One of the things that I've been playing around with within Claude is the ability to create flashcards. And I've been doing this for a variety of topics. I've been doing this for revision. I've been playing around with certain ideas. And basically, what I've got to is this. I've got a lecture. So this is a PDF document that I created on compression. And what I wanted to do was this. I gave my students this lecture, and I wanted to give them something to study, like flashcards, for a upcoming test. So I was playing around in another conversation with flashcards, and I got to the point where I really liked the layout of it. So what I did was I took that code, which was from another conversation, and I just copied this into this conversation with Claude. I gave it that code, and the code basically tells Claude, this is where I want you to create things, and this is the format, etc., etc. This gives Claude the content. So this is what I want the flashcards to resemble. It's what the words are, and the definitions, and all that stuff. This is what I then created. This resource started with a very simple goal. I simply wanted to take information from Claude, and I wanted to make flashcards that worked for my students. I didn't want to use any information that Claude might have been trained on. I wanted to give it a lecture that I'd given the students so it would see the exact same thing, and then build cards from the actual lesson content that I had taught them. One of the key points about this is that the flashcards aren't generic. Again, they're based around what the information that I gave my students. You can use your own lecture content or any sort of source from the internet that you want. And again, I was sort of trying to go for this idea about scaffolding learning, but also revision. Okay, so this is the actual artifact from Claude. And what I really like about this is that up here it gives them a study guide, how to use this to their advantage. And once they have read through this and they understood it, they just hit this got it here, and it just disappears, and then they can now get into this flashcard. Just to look at the overview, there are two modes about this. There are the learning modes and then also the testing mode about this. The cards are broken down into 3 different levels. There's basic, there's intermediate, there's advanced. Well, really, there's a 4th level, which is for the all, and they can mix these together. So what I like about this is in the different sections that they've got is this idea that they can be learning these flashcards and the content in there, that they can test themselves, so they have different levels that they can go on to learn further and further about this topic. But I really like this structure of learning, reviewing, and then testing. Again, going back to the different levels, the basic, intermediate, and advanced, what I like about this is that it allows scaffolding. It's great for mixed ability and different groups. So I want to walk right through a few of these different cards. So again, what this has is the actual definition or the actual question that they want you to learn about. When you click on this, it will then give you the answer. And alongside with this answer, it also is going to give you a visual explanation, a try this, and even in some of these, a practical example about how they can use this in the real world. So on the bottom of this, then what they've got are these 2 buttons here, this need review and this got it. So essentially what this is going to do is it's going to allow the student to self-reflect on if they know or understand this content. If they don't, they're going to push on the button that says need review. But if they do understand it, it's going to say got it. Now, what I want you to do is look at up here. These little buttons here will start to light up every time that I go through each one of these flashcards. So for this example, I'll just say needs review. Notice how it jumps to the second flashcard, and up here you have that little red dot. Now that symbolizes that the student then needs to go back to that first topic and might want to review this. Here's the second flashcard, and I'm going to show this explanation. Notice how it's got a visual, notice how it's got the practical example, notice how it has the try this. In this example, what I'm now going to do is say got it. And the purpose of this is, again, that you can see up here that I've got one of the cards that I needed a little bit more work with, which is now red, and one of the cards that I understood, which is now green. So I'll just quickly go through these, and so you can just see an overview about how this is going to look at the end. So this now is the very end of this, and this is what's going to be sort of like their full revision on this topic. So notice how it's given them a study recommendations area. And again, this goes right back to where the flashcards, when I said I didn't really understand what this content was. Notice how these are the mastered concepts. So this is the areas that I said I did understand. So it'll give me an overview here about what I do understand and what might need to be reviewed. On the bottom of this, you can see that I can study this again. So if I wanted to stay at this level, perfectly fine. However, I can also now click on this button to go up to the higher level. So once the students have gone through a certain level that they feel comfortable with, and they've learned all these definitions and how to use them in a practical sense, they can then go into this test area here. So what Claude does is it uses the randomized questions from the topic that I supplied, and it makes it into this like low stakes formative check just to see if they do actually understand what these definitions and these terms are. So in general, my students have really enjoyed this. They've responded well to this. Most have said that the idea of the visuals has helped out a lot. This feature gave them confidence to work within their DAW or this topic that we wanted to go through. And a lot of students did mention this whole self-assessment, that they were able to sort of feel what it was like to be tested on this topic. So looking at this from the perspective of a teacher, this combines retrieval practice. It looks at self-paced learning, immediate feedback. The students can research any sort of topics that they want to. Their retention, understanding, active recall, any one of these that will help out with their education on this topic. And again, going back to Bloom's taxonomy, this is about remembering and understanding and then applying this topic to a real world situation.